Yo, what's good? Y'all, it's your boy Jay back at it again. Today we got Absolute Batman finally defeated Absolute Bane by Character Crave. Y'all know what the deal is, man. Follow me on both Jays here and Jays there. Get tapped on my socials. And without further ado, let's get right into it. Oh, I've been waiting for this rematch, boy.
Got his revenge on Absolute Bane in the craziest way possible.
Peak fiction incoming.
So the 14th issue of Absolute Batman is finally here, which we all knew would be the conclusion to this absolutely amazing arc. But when I tell you that you're not ready for what you're about to witness, I mean it from the deepest depths of my soul. So before we jump into the breakdown, it would be super chill if you guys dropped a like and comment. These videos take a really long time for me to make. I do every step of the editing process on my own, and it's literally 6 a.m. as I'm recording this because I stayed up all night so I could get this out on time for you guys. But with that being,
I've done that before. I've done that at least 3 times, pulling an all-nighter to edit a video. I did that like 3 days ago.
If you guys don't remember, the last issue consisted of Catwoman checking up on Bruce for the first time after he escaped Arkham by infiltrating one of their hideouts and for some reason beating the crap out of Alfred. And despite initially expressing that she needed to leave and that he didn't need her help, eventually it's revealed that Bruce wanted nothing more than for her to stick around for the night so he could give her a piece of his absolute bat dong. More than that though, the next morning he'd ask her out on a proper date where they'd both suit up into their gear and try approaching the infamous Red Hood gang so they could make some sort of proposal to their leader. Unfortunately, this would prove to be a lot harder than they expected though, because it wasn't long before the gang started attacking them because they were still holding a grudge about Bruce denying their assistance during a previous exchange. So Catwoman pulled out her submachine gun and neutralized as many of them as she could by shooting them with sleep darts, but moments later, Bruce realized that somebody wielding an RPG was on top of a Ferris wheel ready to pull the trigger. So in a last-ditch effort to save him and Selina's lives, he decided to use the venom in his system for the very first time, which made him so strong that he was able to send the dude flying into the water.
Nigga is not human, bro. What human you know can knock down a whole fucking Ferris wheel?
After smashing into the Ferris wheel. However, using the venom didn't come without its adverse side effects, and Selina was quick to notice that it was making Bruce way angrier than he usually was. So she calmed him down enough so that he was able to explain why they needed the Red Hood gang's help, and even though most of the members were resistant to hear him out at first, eventually Harley Quinn would step out from among them and reveal that she was their leader.
Her absolute design is kind of It's kind of I ain't gonna lie. It's kind of
expressing that if he was really serious about taking down Arkham, then she was willing to join his side. Nevertheless, the story then steps inside enemy territory where we find out that despite already being a massive ball of testosterone, Bane went through even more procedures that allowed him to reach a level of size that Dr. Arkham never even thought was possible. However, soon enough, one of the doctors in the room expressed that there was a broadcast on TV that they needed to be concerned about because apparently Batman was not only exposing their entire operation, but he was also calling out Bane to face him in a 1v1 showdown tomorrow at midnight.
This is one of the hardest things I've seen in comic book history, bro. That nigga said people of Gotham, our city is under attack not by criminals or outlaws, but by its own leaders. Leaders who sold Gotham out to line their own pockets. They've sold our safety, our freedom. There's nothing they won't sell. They've even sold the ground beneath our feet, which right now, they're growing actual monsters, horrors too terrible to imagine. I tried to show you with Black Mask, but I made the mistake of relying on the networks. Not anymore. This time I'll show you myself, because I'm going to drag one of these monsters out in the light for all you to see, and I'm going to beat his ass. Talking about you, Bane, a little bitch ass nigga. Bruh, this was like or a gamble, bruh. This nigga called him out for an ISO, bruh. I don't know. He might have Killer Croc jump him, bro, but this shit can't blame him, bro. That nigga Bane fucking 38 feet tall.
But knowing that he'd have to use every resource he had if he really wanted a shot at victory, Bruce eventually told Selina that whether she liked it or not, he was going to use venom during their showdown, so Selina continued trying to convince him not to, out of belief that the side effects would turn him into a monster, but upon realizing that he wasn't going to change his mind, she elected to part ways with him, but not without wishing him the best. And to end things off, our issue then revealed that Bruce had been leaving an ice chest full of meat outside in hopes of reuniting with Waylon and recruiting him to the team.
My nigga Waylon, bro. This is a war.
This issue, on the other hand, picks up with Alfred trying to tell Bruce that he was about to experience the most important fight of his life, suggesting that they infuse some of the venom in.
You're getting a get back. You're getting your get back on not only yourself, but the nigga that manipulated your friend. He turned this nigga into Killer Croc. Turned Penguin. Pretty sure it's this nigga. He beat the fuck out this nigga. Turned this nigga to him. Her, this nigga, the Harvey, you getting your get back for all your mans, bro.
Into his body right now to make sure that his system could handle it, and the rest of the venom could go towards Bane once he was in the ring. But Bruce was struggling to pay attention to what he was saying because his mind was being flooded by all the traumatic experiences he had to go through recently, like when he first encountered Bane, when he finally reunited with his mom, and the first time that he saw his friends after Bane ruined their lives. But instead of continuing to dwell on the past and letting this pain affect him negatively, Bruce chose to channel all that trauma and use it as motivation to fight even harder, expressing that he was ready to go to war when Alfred asked him what he wanted to do. And that's when we get an absolutely insane splash page where Bruce looks like a complete juiced up monster as massive amounts of venom are rapidly coursing through his veins. But before seeing if that's something that's actually gonna happen or not, our story then jumps over to Mayor Hill making a statement on a local news broadcast about Batman's message to the city, indicating that his claims of monsters being created underneath their streets were completely false, and also expressing that the battle set to take place between him and Bane that night definitely wasn't gonna happen. But he still wanted everybody to cooperate with the 11 o'clock curfew that was implemented.
Niggas trying to sell him, thinking he a bitch,
After
bro.
the Black Mask, and that's because he actually wanted to make sure that the fight was gonna happen that night, but he didn't want anybody to know besides him and the GCPD. Nevertheless, after that, our story gives us a quick little glimpse of Jim Gordon's daughter Barbara trying to talk to Bruce through his cowl, saying that she hopes he has a damn good plan, but just moments later, we then jump over to the Arkham facility with Bane heading out to battle. Trying to make sure that he was as prepared as possible before he was gone though, Dr. Arkham would then warn him that Batman had at least one venom infusion left inside his system. However, apparently Bane wasn't worried about it and was actually hoping that that was the case, stating that if Bruce's body was able to handle that last infusion, then he'd finally be able to go home and rest. We're then given a flashback of Waylon entering the Octagon for his fight against Bibbo Babowski, which will finally give us closure on this whole agreement Bruce made with Bibbo and the Falcons. Nevertheless, we also see Bane arriving to the field like a gladiator in a coliseum, and immediately upon entry, he wasted no time demanding to see his opposing champion. And that's when Harley and her gang of Red Hoods lit up the field by activating the stadium's power, allowing the unstoppable force to stare down the immovable object.
This was hard. Yo, when I saw this post, I was like, yo, this is tough, bro. This one of the toughest panels I done ever seen, bro. This nigga said, what's up, nigga?
Meanwhile, Alfred was in the midst of operating the Batmobile, and in the midst of doing so, he began reminding Bruce of their plan, stating that he needed to wear Bane down until he used up all his venom, which would then give Bruce the green light to start using his venom. But don't
lie, bro. I did not think it was gonna be an ISO. You was not gonna try to, unless this nigga trained with. I'm pretty sure all the Tibetan monks is gone in this universe. Unless the nigga was gonna go to Indonesia and train with Goku and Baki within like what, a month of a time span. Yeah, you can't 1v1 Bane, bro. You gotta jump niggas like him.
With talking and ready to start the show, Bruce would then signal Harley to call a massive swarm of drones so they could record the entire battle. Unimpressed with the theatrics and ready to begin their showdown though, Bane would then emphasize that Bruce better have practiced some new techniques so they could give the world an actual spectacle, but that's when Bruce calmly stepped onto a pedal that was placed in front of his foot, causing a bunch of explosions within a nearby building to erupt, which resulted in the building collapsing in half before falling down on top of Bane. However, as Waylon began tearing into Bibbo in the past, we then realized that Bane's durability and strength was so overwhelming that he walked away from the debris with ease and was now the size of a giant. So before he could get his hands on Bruce, Alfred in the Batmobile came blazing into the stadium where he was able to catch Bane off guard.
This nigga's fucking vein is the size of his eye. Bro, this nigga's vein is the fucking size of my finger, nigga. This nigga vein probably thicker than my forearm.
By jamming two massive spears right through the back of his shoulders. But once again, proving that his strength was unmatched, Bane would then grab onto the ropes that were attached to the spears before using them to send the Batmobile flying with little to no effort. But as stated by Alfred, even though Bruce was inferior when it came to power and speed, when it came to sheer brutality, he was far more.
God damn! He took that nigga eye. Bruce ain't playing, boy. Bruce said this for all my niggas.
And that's when Bruce leapt into the air before jamming one of his bat tendrils directly into one of Bane's eyes before ripping it off of his face. Unfortunately, thanks to the venom though, Bane's healing factor was so overpowered that it was only a matter of seconds before he regrew another eyeball. But refusing to let this discourage him, Bruce would then rip out the blades from his cowl before viciously slicing up his back with them, but upon
he fought like Levi and AOT.
Pulling himself off of his back, the mountain-sized Bane was able to latch onto one of his tendrils before repeatedly slamming him into the ground. Knowing that his body had to have been massively injured at this point, Bane began daring Bruce to use his venom, believing that he didn't have any other options. To his surprise though, that's when Harley demanded her men to uncover their secret green machine, which is when the one and only Killer Croc—
my nigga Killer Croc was good with it, boy. Nigga really thought he was going one-to-ones. You really think Killer Croc was going to stand on the sidelines after what you did to that nigga? No. We jumping your ass. Nigga like, what, 100 feet tall, strong enough to take, nigga got Majin Buu healing fact. No, we jumping your ass, boy.
Came leaping into the air far above Bane's head before relentlessly biting off massive chunks of flesh and literally swallowing them whole. And meanwhile, Bruce was completely neglecting his injuries as if they weren't even there, because immediately upon regaining composure, he ripped the battle axe off of his chest and began slicing through one body part after another. But despite facing multiple threats at the exact same time, Bane would then wrap Bruce's entire body up in the palm—
yeah, you gotta kill this nigga. You ain't gonna lie. Batman, you gotta kill this nigga, bro. You gotta kill him. You gotta put this nigga down, bro. You have to. You on world stage, you gotta put this nigga down, bro. He deadass tortured your whole friend group, ruined their lives, beat your ass, experimented on you. Nah, you gotta kill him
of his hands before hurling him up into the air, where he'd then crash into the bleachers. Meanwhile, in the past, Bibbo Babowski was finally gaining the upper hand on Waylon during their battle in the Octagon, and as Bruce began walking away, losing faith that his friend could persevere, the Falcons would then start celebrating in belief that victory was near. It doesn't take long for our story to shuffle back over to the future though, and despite seeing him take one blow after another—
so this problem when someone gives you some big inspirational speech, I'm gonna tell you to get your ass up. Cool.
Harley was desperate to see Bruce jump back into the battle because Waylon was all alone. So yet again, Bruce picked up his battle axe without a single
moment, bro. He about to rip this nigga in half.
Moment of hesitation before leaping off of the bleachers, desperate to save his friend. On the other hand, we also see Bruce in the past running through security, so Waylon could see that he was always gonna have somebody rooting for him in his corner. And that's when we go back over to the present with Bane desperately trying to snap Waylon's jaw in half, but refusing to let that be the outcome. Bruce would then slice through the entire upper portion of Bane's spine, immediately causing him to collapse on his knees before seeing—
Killer Croc, this is a crazy ass build. This is a crazy build, bro.
The entire upper portion of Bane's spine,
dead ass gutted that nigga,
immediately causing him to collapse on his knees before seemingly going unconscious. After that, he then thanked Waylon for all his help before slowly walking across Bane's back, indicating that he'd no longer be able to use his legs anymore because of the way that he severed his spine. And adding insult to injury, he then used his battle axe to
But you still have your arms! Yo! That's what Bane told that. He said— that's the reverse. He said, you still have your leg. Oh.
Because of the way that he severed his spine. And adding insult to injury, he then uses battle—
this is generational.
Axe to start hacking into other parts of his body, which disabled him from using his arms, before stating that he—
oh man, now you can't use your arms either, but hey, you can still bite me. And no, we're not that different, man. We both lost fathers. The difference is, I didn't break my father's back.
He agreed that they were actually pretty similar, but unlike Bane, he didn't break his father's back or break his father's heart. However, just when you thought the chaos was over, Bane would then undergo yet another monstrous transformation, surpassing his previous size once more before mocking Bruce just moments later for thinking he could actually win. And after that, he'd then capitalize on his new size and strength by pummeling Bruce across the field by smashing him into the ground with one fist after another. Believing that the battle was over now, Bane would then begin relishing in his victory by expressing—
look at that, bro. This nigga damn near butt ass naked, bro.
That Bruce was nothing, and implying that it was his turn to go through war because he was done giving everything he had to make sure his people were safe. And as he continued pummeling Bruce into the ground,
Yo, this Bruce's durability is fucking insane, bro. This nigga's durability. He's getting hammered with kaiju fist, and he's eating these hoes. This nigga different.
Dr. Arkham would then express that his cells had now moved beyond the ability to self-repair and had basically become embryonic, which makes sense because as you'll see from one of the panels at the bottom of the page, he quite literally begins forming teeth and eyeballs all over various parts of his body. Meanwhile, in the past, we see Waylon being victim of a chokehold as Bruce begged him to keep on fighting with all that he had, which is also when Bruce in the present day finally decides to use some venom, but not in the way that you think, ordering Catwoman to start overloading Bane's system by blasting venom-filled darts directly into his tubes, resulting
he
in—
about to make this nigga overdose. He got that nigga looking like Cell Max. Yo, I ain't gonna lie, that's WIQ. He said Venom. Oh, I'll use Venom, alright? Make the nigga, bro. He got blasted with the fentanyl.
A burst of venom imploding from his body left and right until he was literally a pile of goo. But going back to the past again, we then see Waylon defying all odds and shocking the entire crowd, because despite almost losing consciousness while Bibbo squeezed the life out of his lungs, somehow he managed to leap into the air and flip themselves upside down, resulting in Bibbo breaking his neck and allowing Waylon to emerge victorious. Nevertheless, we then go back into the past and see that Bruce did eventually agree to not use venom in the way that he originally intended, because in past and
so alright, this is the past 2 days ago. Alright, so how much of this stuff am I taking out of you again? All of it, Eddie.
see that Bruce did eventually agree to not use venom in the way that he originally
Hey, my boy got his hair back.
intended, because instead of using it while it was inside of his body, Eddie performed a procedure to extract it from his body before Catwoman put it inside some darts. After that though, we jump back over to present day with
Oh my god. Ugh. What is that shit? Ugh. Dump that nigga out
from
into
his
the
body
river.
before Catwoman put it inside some darts. After that,
Because there is a fight that is bigger than any war. It's oldest time and immediate as a baby scream. There's no end to it ever, not really. It's about doing what's right, no more, no less. So someone like Batman, he's not fighting to win. He's fighting to fight. The fight is the point for the home, for the people he loves.
though, we jump back over to present day with Bruce using his dump truck to pour all of Bane's remains into the ocean while Ozzy and Harvey watched him on the news. Catwoman, on the other hand, was on a flight to an undisclosed
Yeah, you had to get his get back, bro. He had to make sure the whole gang. He had to make sure. He happy. He had to make sure the whole gang saw that.
location, and upon one of the flight attendants asking her if she needed help with one of her suitcases, Catwoman kindly declined her offer because it turns out that that suitcase had a tube of venom inside, and while we don't really know what she's gonna use that venom for, our story then jumps back over to Arkham staring at a creature inside of a chamber, and it turns out that that creature is actually what remained of Bane. Nevertheless, moments later, she then expressed that somebody wanted to talk to him, which is when none other than the Joker appears on screen, stating that he knew Bane was hoping he could retire soon, but he didn't believe that that would actually make him happy because he would get bored spending time with his family instead of being in constant war. So he wanted to relieve him of having to worry about Santa Prisca, which is when he then forced Bane to watch a video of him nuking the entire island. But
He nuked this nigga's home.
sadly, that's when this issue comes to an end. Absolute Joker is on his freaking way, guys. Let me know what you thought of this issue. I thought it was absolutely insane.
Nah, this shit. Nah, this shit might have been peak fiction. This shit might be peak fiction. I ain't gonna lie. This shit dead ass might be peak fiction, bro. This shit might be peak fiction. I ain't gonna lie to y'all niggas, bro. That shit, bro. Nigga, did we just witness cinema chat? Cause that shit sounded like cinema to me. But that being said, it's your boy Jay. Said I'll come up with character crave for this video. And stay healthy, stay wealthy, and stay blessed. And I'm out.